We know who could be behind these attacks, but one thing is clear, these were coordinated attacks. They happened within minutes of each other. And could the targets have been Christians and foreign nationals is a question that's being asked. Too early for us to jump to any conclusions. But of course, the fact that churches were attacked on the occasion of Easter and five-star hotels have been attacked has given rise to speculation that Christians and foreign nationals could have been the target for maximum impact that was sought to have been created by those who are behind these horrific blasts. The Sri Lankan government is yet to issue a statement. We've been talking to senior journalists in Sri Lanka who say that the government is not yet calling these terror attacks. They're not yet saying who the target really was. Whether a particular religious community was the target, whether foreign nationals may have been the specific target of the attackers. That cannot be said with any degree of authority at this moment, because that is really a question that will need to be looked into in great detail over the next several days as Sri Lankan agencies investigate just what went so horribly wrong and how nobody saw these attacks coming. Massive attacks taking place on an enormous scale. This is not some small attack that we're talking about. 6 high-profile locations being targeted, some of them in the heart of the Sri Lankan capital, churches as well as five-star hotels. So very high-profile targets on the occasion of Easter Sunday, when a mass was taking place at these churches, which must have been packed at the time when these blasts went off. But of course, one of the many questions being asked is, was there absolutely no intelligence available pointing in the direction of a possible attack in Colombo or else?
Such things that have been planned. Remember, to have any kind of serial explosion, it's important to first find out in case agencies are coordinating it. But it's a multi-pronged approach, and the need for the Sri Lankan government, right from the blood banks to the anti-terror squad,
yes,
to the Army, Navy, Air Force, all are being coordinated currently by the topmost office in Sri Lanka.
Okay, this will continue to be our focus. Ashish, request you to stay on with us. We have to take a quick break, but we'll be right back on the other side.
नया भारत देखो चलो फिर एक बार हम मोदी सरकार
have rocked the Sri Lankan capital this morning, and we are given to understand that more than 50 people are confirmed dead and more than 300 have been injured. Joining me on the phone at this point is Jehan Pereira, Executive Director of the National Peace Council. Mr. Pereira, thanks very much for speaking to NewsX. Sir, if you could share with us any latest information or details that you may have.
A lot of stories, rumors. For instance, that a head was discovered in one of the suicide bombers' head, or the bomber's head was discovered in a church, and it could be a Muslim, for instance. That type of rumor is being spread, but nothing concrete at the moment. The cabinet is meeting now, but no announcement has yet been made.
All right, and so we certainly don't want to add to any rumor or fear-mongering. That is something we need to be very, very careful about. Security, we are given to understand, and as you would expect in such a situation, has been tightened all across Colombo and elsewhere in Sri Lanka. But, sir, you know, what's really left everyone baffled is absolutely nobody saw it coming, and there seems to be no information available at the moment about who could be behind this.
Yes, there is no information at all. But I mean, when we look at the targeting of the Catholics at this time, because it's been churches, Catholic churches that have been targeted, and hotels where Catholics go for the Easter celebration. I think there is to create an impression, a false impression, that there is some international force behind these attacks. There has to be some sort of a very, very organized force behind it, because this has taken place simultaneously in different parts of the country, including the Tamil parts of the country. The Tamil parts, the Sinhala parts, the capital city, all have been simultaneously attacked. It is very coordinated, very well planned. So there is an attempt being made to show that this, and therefore by targeting the Catholics, to suggest that it could be Muslim or some international force. I don't believe that is the case. My own judgment at the moment, based of course just on my speculation, is that it is internal. This is an internal attempt to show that this government is not strong, that this government has been giving in too much to international pressure on human rights, on accountability, on war crimes, and therefore has crippled our military and our security forces. And our military and our security forces therefore can't do their job. They are helpless. And that is why international forces are now trying to destroy our country. I think that is the story that is being sought to project. I do not believe it.
Okay, you're making an interesting point. You are saying that there is a theory which suggests that this is an internal job, an inside job, a sabotage to prove that the government, the current government of Sri Lanka is not doing its job well. But I think, sir, the biggest reason why it's come as a shock to you would probably agree with me when I say that the last decade has by and large been quite peaceful in Sri Lanka since the end of the civil war, since the decimation of the LTTE, and therefore everyone's wondering what's happened now, what could have gone so horribly wrong. Also, in your assessment, would it be fair to call this a massive intelligence failure and a major security lapse, given that some of the targets of these blasts were high-profile places like five-star hotels? So does this, in a sense, also reflect on the lack of security, for example, at these hotels?
No, certainly. This is a major security lapse. It highlights the weakness of our security system. However, having said that, I also say that similar things have happened in other countries also, in other democratic countries, where there have been multiple attacks in European countries. But that does not mean there hasn't been a security lapse. There has been a security lapse. We didn't expect it. I mean, Sri Lankans didn't. We thought our country is very free. The airport, the international airport, there's hardly any checking that goes on now. Our hotels, they are just free. People just walk through them, unlike in most other countries. Walk through without any security check. That's what makes me think that actually this is something that has been planned out, and it is meant to, I think, discredit this government in a time when we are heading towards elections. We are heading towards elections in 6 months.
That's an important point you're making. You're saying this may have been done to discredit the government at a time when the country is heading into elections. You also talked about how security, in your assessment, is very lax, whether it is at airports or perhaps even at five-star hotels, where we are given to understand that a lot of the scanners were removed after the end of the civil war. Now, clearly that will need to be reviewed, and of course this comes as a horrific reminder to many of us in India of the 2008 Mumbai terror attacks.
Yes, I know. Yes, I think it is always important for a country never to relax its guard against terrorism, because the country at large may be peaceful. The people may want peace and not violence, but there are always those who will want to exploit that system, and this is what has happened in Sri Lanka at our great cost.
All right, Mr. Pereira, thanks very much for speaking to NewsX. We appreciate you sharing your views and perspective with us on this very, very important story, and our thoughts and prayers with everyone in Sri Lanka today. Thanks very much, sir. All right. We also have Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, former defense minister, joining us at this point. Mr. Rajapaksa, thanks very much for speaking to NewsX. Sir, what latest information can you share with us? According to the official figures that have come out from the Sri Lankan government and the Colombo police, at least 52 people have been killed and more than 300 injured. Actually, we're now given to understand that the death toll may have crossed 100. It's probably well in excess of 100 already. How bad is the situation in your assessment, sir?
I don't get any detailed information because I'm out of, power. And the other thing, I was the defense secretary, not the minister. But only thing I can say, I'm deeply saddened by the bombing incident that took place this morning at about 6 places. And also I want to sympathize with the victims and their families who got injured. And it is up to the government, the people, the leaders, President and Prime Minister, and security agencies to now take immediate action to prevent further escalation of this type of incident. And any government should concern about the security of the country. That is very important. I don't know whether the present government had that as a priority. Unfortunately, we ended the terrorism in 2009, and after that, we didn't have any incidents. But we were when we were in power, we were very conscious about the security situation. Though we were able to eradicate the LTTE, but I don't know after the present government came into power whether they were giving the priority to intelligence.
Okay.
Because to do anything, the thing is
Sir, if I could ask
important.
you very quickly, even though, there's by and large been peace in Sri Lanka over the last decade since the end of the civil war, but, this Buddhist extremist group, the JVP, has been involved in some attacks, including assassinations. Is that an angle that will also be investigated, do you think, by the security agencies?
No. There are no Buddhist extremist organizations who get involved in this type of. These are very well planned and coordinated efforts. I don't want to put blame on anybody, but you can't blame on. It's not good to put the blame on anybody at this moment. It's up to the intelligence agencies and the security agencies to find out.
Absolutely. So we totally agree with you. Too early to lay the blame at anyone's doorstep, too early to jump to any conclusions, and we certainly don't want to add to any rumor of fear-mongering at this point. Mr. Rajapaksa, thanks so much for speaking to News X. Time for us to take a quick break here on the show, but don't go anywhere. We'll continue to track the story very, very closely for you, and we'll have many more updates from Colombo in just a moment.